This Rev 3.2 A3640 came in an Amiga 4000T that I bought off eBay earlier this year. It unseated from the motherboard during shipment and was floating loose inside the system. Luckily, there was minimal damage to the PCB, and only one capacitor was knocked off. Not a big deal. It needed a recap anyway, as there was a lot of leakage on the board. After cleaning, replacing the caps, and fixing a few traces and vias, I found the board still did not work. I installed it in an Amiga 3000 motherboard that I have on the bench. Occasionally, the Amiga will start up with the A3640 installed. Most of the time it hangs even before the system power LED changes state. When the Amiga does start up, it will oddly run fine. If I use the CLI reboot command, the computer will reboot normally. If I instead do a Ctrl-Amiga-Amiga reset, the computer will usually stay hung with a dim power LED, no matter how many times I do that reset. Since it seemed like a power-on reset issue, I connected an analyzer and captured several traces. This didn't yield much, other than when it fails, the CPU will assert AS a couple times after reset and then give up. The Kickstart ROM output enable is not driven by Gary in this case, so I know these first fetches were not happening correctly. Since I was doing so many resets, I decided to hack together a reset button. This will be very useful for debug. I can hit the board with a reset without waiting for the 10-second keyboard reset timeout. Let's power on the Amiga. You can see the Amiga disk activity and it's starting up normally. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with a reset now. You notice the LED goes low and high. So it's taking a reset right now. I'll do it a few more times. Okay, so now it is not resetting, at least not that time. Let me hit it again. Okay, so now it's in a stuck state. It doesn't seem to matter however many times I do reset, it's still not resetting. Oh wait, it just reset. Okay, so it worked that time. Well, it looks like there is a fault of some sort. And now it's hung. Let me hit it with a reset again. And now it's staying hung. So what I see is the Amiga seems to be in a dead state. It's not responding to reset at all. Let's go and do a full power cycle. And it's still hung. So I'm going to let it sit for a while, cool down, and then try again. And trying again. Still not working. So let's see if we can speed up this process. I'm going to try to cool the board using some air. Okay, let's give it a try again. Alright, it's back to working. Okay, so I think that there's a thermal issue on this board. Where is the question? Is it a via? Is it a component? I don't know at this point. So what I'm going to do is attempt to isolate the problem. First thing I'll do is I'll put a heatsink on the CPU. And the next thing I'll do is I will cool a section of the board at a time and then see if it makes a difference. First I need to get it back to that failing state. That didn't seem to make a difference. Let's try this section of the board. There we go. And try again. That didn't seem to make a difference either. How about this section of the board? That made a difference. So it's somewhere over here. Let me see if I can split the gals in half now. Or something like that. Back to booting. Oh, but it's failing again. So it could be one of these chips here. So as a test, let's get it back to the failing state. I'm going to try the same experiment on the other side. Okay, it's now failing again. And it's working this time. And not working. So still inconsistent. Let me try cooling off just a couple more seconds. No difference. If I go longer, looks like that's working again. And it's still working. It's making me lean toward it's more likely to be something on this side. Let's see if we can maybe eliminate it another way. I can try sticking cardboard in here this way. And I'll cool just this section. Okay, back to the failing state. I'll cool just this section here. Alright, well that's interesting. So that didn't seem to make a difference. Do a little longer. Still nothing. Can I maybe add a couple more chips? This is getting kind of complicated. I don't know if that's really blocking air on the other side, but I'll give it a shot. So far that didn't seem to make a difference. Okay, it's working again. So it might be one of these three chips here. So I'll get it back to the failing state and then I'll try the remaining chip on the other side. Okay, here we go. Now it's back to the failing state. Let's see if I can hit just the other IC now. And it's working. So, not sure completely if it's one of these three or if it's this one on the other side. I'll run the experiment another time or two here to see if I can figure that out. Okay, we're back to failing state. Longer. And it's working again. And back to failing. So I think my next experiment will have to involve Kapton tape. I will tape around all the chips but the one that's in the corner there, and I'll see if I can cool just that chip. Okay, it's back to a failing state. Let me grab some tape. This will give me a much better seal to make sure no airflow is getting on these other chips. Let's do another reset test. Looks like it is still failing. And now it's working. So that really does suggest to me it's just this chip here. Let's see if there's something I could maybe do to isolate that chip from the others and try the same experiment again. And rerun the experiment. Okay, we're back to a failing state. I'm going to go through a power cycle. Looks like it almost booted. Well, that's odd. It's back to working again. So I wonder if the act of placing that tape on the board has caused something to stop working. Maybe I've got a cold solder joint. Okay, it's back to failing now. Let's try cooling some chips. Okay, there's no change. How about cooling that one too? And it's back to working. So it's working again. I do really suspect it's that chip. Now, whether it's the actual PAL there or it's it has a cold solder joint, I don't know. So I think what I'll do is I'll use a soldering iron and touch up all of the contacts for this PAL and see if that makes a difference. Alright, let's inspect the soldering first. These joints all look quite good. I'm not seeing anything. Maybe that one. Third one in. Yeah, the soldering looks really good on this. Remove these jumpers to get them out of the way. I have to remember to put them back. Okay, I'm going to put on some gloves so I don't get flux all over my hands. And we'll put flux on this part. I like to use rosin liquid. Reflow each of the pins. So back to the Amiga. And again, nothing. So I'm pretty confident it's at least this area of the board. It might be this PAL, it might not be. My next step is going to be to remove that PAL and replace it. Okay, so this is a little ridiculous. I even reminded myself to put the jumpers on, and I didn't. So let's go ahead and put the jumpers back on and try again. Powering on. Already it's looking better. So I'll let this run for a while, and then hit reset on it. Probably drop the heatsink back on the CPU. By the way, this is one of the later mask revisions of 40 CPUs, and it can easily run without a heatsink on it, but I put one on there just to be sure while it's on the bench. Oh, my reset jumper came loose. There we go, it's back in now. Fire. And that's still working. And that time it worked fine. And hit it again. Working fine. Working fine. Maybe I should go to the keyboard reset now and just try it from there. And that worked. How about again? It seems pretty consistent now when I hit Ctrl-Amiga-Amiga. Oh, yeah, okay, it worked. Try it a few more times. I'm going to try another cold power cycle. Well, that's working better too. So it might have been a cold solder joint at that particular PAL. Reset. Alright. Well, at this point, I'm going to declare this board fixed. It seems like that's all it was. I'm happy I didn't have to pull the PAL off and replace it. For those of you who made it all the way through, thank you for watching this exciting debug adventure.